The enemy thought they had won. After hours of brutal fighting, their opponents finally broke. Men were running, standards were falling, dust filled the air. To everyone watching, the battle was over. Victory belonged to them, or so it seemed. The victors celebrated. They shouted in triumph, raised their weapons, and charged after the fleeing army. Certain the enemy was finished, certain nothing could stop them now. The pursuit continued. 1 mile, then 2, then 3. The formation began to stretch apart. Units became separated. Discipline faded, but nobody cared. The enemy was running. Victory was within reach. Then, something strange happened. The fleeing army stopped. The men who seemed terrified moments earlier suddenly turned around. Calm, organized, ready. The soldiers they thought were broken weren't broken at all. They had been waiting. Suddenly, horns echoed across the battlefield. Hidden warriors appeared, from the left, from the right, from behind, everywhere at once. Panic spread through the pursuers. The hunters had become the hunted. This wasn't a retreat. It wasn't fear. It wasn't panic. It was a trap. One of the deadliest battlefield tricks ever created. A tactic so effective that entire armies disappeared because of it. Kingdoms fell. Empires were conquered. And generation after generation of commanders kept making the same mistake. They believed they were chasing victory, when in reality, they were running straight into disaster. But who invented this tactic? Who first turned retreat into a weapon? And how did it help conquer some of the largest empires in history? That's where the story begins. For most of history, a retreat meant one thing: defeat. When soldiers ran from battle, it usually meant they had lost. Their morale had collapsed. Their formations had broken. Victory belonged to whoever was left standing. And that is exactly why the tactic worked, because very few commanders could resist the temptation to chase a fleeing enemy. But some armies discovered a dangerous idea. What if the retreat wasn't real? What if running away was actually part of the plan? No army mastered this tactic better than the Mongols. Fast, disciplined, and terrifyingly effective. Again and again, their enemies believed they were winning, when in reality, the trap had already been set. The battle would begin normally. Arrows filled the sky. Cavalry charged across the field. Men fought and died. Then suddenly, the Mongols turned and fled. To their enemies, it looked like panic, weakness, fear. Exactly what the Mongols wanted them to see. And almost every time, their opponents took the bait. The chase would continue for miles, sometimes for hours, occasionally for an entire day. The pursuing army became stretched out across the landscape. Units lost contact with one another. Commanders struggled to maintain control. Discipline disappeared. The soldiers believed victory was only moments away, but by then it was already too late. Then the Mongols stopped, turned around, and attacked. At the exact same moment, hidden forces appeared from every direction. Warriors who had remained unseen suddenly emerged. From the left, from the right, from behind. The hunters became the hunted. What looked like a certain victory transformed into a disaster, again and again and again. The fake retreat helped the Mongols destroy armies across Asia, across the Middle East, and across Europe. Kingdoms collapsed, empires fell. Entire nations learned to fear the sight of a fleeing Mongol horseman, because sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one running away. But one battle would reveal just how deadly this tactic could be. A battle where an entire army walked directly into the perfect trap. The enemy believed victory was within reach. They thought the Mongols were beaten. They thought the battle was over. They had no idea they were marching toward one of the greatest military disasters in history. And when the trap finally closed, there was nowhere left to run. The enemy thought victory was only seconds away. The fleeing horsemen looked exhausted, outnumbered, broken, and trapped. At least, that was what it looked like. So the pursuit continued, faster, deeper, farther from safety. The enemy pushed forward, convinced the battle was already won. Then the horsemen stopped. For a brief moment, the battlefield fell silent. The pursuers slowed, confused, uncertain. And then they saw it. The riders were turning around. Suddenly, horns echoed across the plains, from the left, from the right, from behind. Thousands of hidden warriors appeared as if from nowhere. The trap had closed. Panic spread instantly. The hunters had become the hunted. Every escape route was blocked. Every direction led to enemy cavalry. And the Mongols were only beginning their attack. Then came the arrows, thousands of them. Wave after wave darkened the sky. The trapped soldiers couldn't catch their enemy, couldn't force a close battle, couldn't strike back effectively. They could only endure the punishment. Hour after hour, the attacks continued. Every attempt to break out failed. Every desperate charge was met by more arrows, more cavalry, more death. The army was being destroyed piece by piece, slowly, relentlessly, inevitably. By the end of the battle, the outcome could no longer be avoided. What had begun as a pursuit had become a catastrophe. An entire army had marched straight into the perfect trap and paid the ultimate price. The fake retreat became one of the deadliest military tactics ever used. It fooled kings, generals, and entire empires, because it exploited two powerful emotions. One thing every commander feared, watching victory escape, and one temptation few could resist, chasing it. For centuries, military leaders studied the tactic. Some tried to copy it, others searched for ways to defend against it, but few armies ever mastered it as completely as the Mongols. A strategy so simple, it looked like defeat. A strategy so brilliant, it helped conquer empires.